Good evening, Throwdown Nation. Welcome to the Throwdown with Matt, episode 7. And tonight is a guest that I have been very much looking forward to, and that is Florida Man. I had a chance to see Florida Man wrestle a few weeks ago at the PWE show in Augusta, Georgia, and he is just supremely entertaining in all that he does. I actually heard from him a few minutes ago, and he is running a little bit behind this evening. He will be here, but in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I've actually found a couple of videos of what Florida Man does on the internet. And while we're waiting on him, I am going to share my screen, and he has done a series. Oh, hang on. Florida Man, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Man, I cannot complain. Cannot complain at all. Yeah, I've been. I was just telling them, man, I have been so excited to get you on here. You are a supremely entertaining dude.
Yeah.
And
you the first one that's had me on, so you get to laud that around for the rest of your life. So congratulations on that.
Awesome. I'm surprised somebody else hasn't had you on one of these things.
I'm available.
Well, cool. Anyway, what I was going to do kind of before we really get started is just to kind of give people a taste of what you do. I was going to actually play one of your little headline videos that you've done in the past, just to give folks a taste.
I'm excited to see which one you pick.
Okay.
You're gonna love this one. Florida Man reportedly tells cops he thought playing basketball naked would, quote, enhance his skill level. I don't think this is true. If LeBron James is driving down the court ass naked, his whole business all out, and he goes up for like a dunk, even like a layup, you think anyone is going up to meet LeBron and try and defend that shot? No. They're like, oh my God, Jesus, why is LeBron naked? It's a competitive advantage. A lot of people don't think about it like that, but that's the kind of knowledge that you gain from the tales from Florida.
That is great stuff, man.
That's one of my favorites. I still stand by it. It's true.
Yeah, I mean, it makes all the sense in the world, man. It really does. So, getting into some of the topics at hand here, my friend, the first and most obvious question is going to be, how long have you been wrestling and doing this shtick?
It's been about 2.5 years. We're almost at that coveted 3.
That's awesome. So you're still young in the business, but you've been around enough to where you're not really a rookie at it anymore either.
Yeah, you can say that.
Okay. Well, who trained you?
I feel like you've been getting this answer a lot recently. That'd be Ethan Case.
Yep. Yeah. My last guess was Dre. And
Academy.
Yeah. It's funny, years ago, I've told the story a lot recently, but probably 8 or 9 years ago, my wife and I were out to dinner at a restaurant not far from where we live here in Metro Atlanta, and Ethan Case was our waiter that night. And somehow the topic came up that he wrestled. And so I got his social media, and I've been kind of loosely following his career since then. And I saw that he'd opened the academy and everything. So,
Yeah.
it's a small world sometimes, but man, I think the world of Ethan. He is just awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, at what point in your life did you know that you wanted to try to make a go of this kind of thing? Were you still a Florida boy, or had you become a Florida man by the time you made
Yeah.
that decision?
It's kind of hard trying to go back to remembering when I first had Florida consciousness. But if I had to pinpoint something, it'd be about around that point. We'll say like 3 years old, I might have gained consciousness. So yeah. How long have I known that this exists? Since let's say 2007, I believe, is when I was introduced.
Gotcha. Yeah, as I was, as I've told a lot of the other folks that I've had on here, I've been a fan of wrestling in varying degrees of fandom since I was about 11. Actually, I was a kid in Florida at the time, and I'm going to be 55 in September. So I've seen a lot over 40 plus years. It's been interesting. As a kid, I remember watching Florida Championship Wrestling and watching the whole Dusty Rhodes and Kevin Sullivan story arc and all that good stuff back in the territory days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not originally from Florida, but I lived there for about 7 years near Cocoa and Melbourne. So
Born and raised here. No, I feel like there's a question later, but I was originally from Florida. Still am.
well, I figured with you being Florida man, you had to be.
That'd be something, huh?
Yeah. If you're not really Florida man.
Rest assured, I am.
Yeah. Yeah, Dre assured me that you're the genuine article. He said that
Broward County.
when they made you, they broke the mold.
Yeah.
So away from wrestling, what are some of your other hobbies and interests?
Wherever the city of Miami has a sports team, I'm there. The Heat, the Dolphins, I could talk here about them all day. I don't even like baseball. I'll probably start talking about the Marlins.
Gotcha.
They just traded somebody away. They're like in shambles or something. Some crazy baseball stuff is happening, but yeah, Miami sports, and then like I play the game here and there. I feel like everyone kind of does.
Gotcha. Yeah, my wife is actually a University of Alabama graduate, so through her, I'm a Bama fan by marriage, and so because of that, I still follow Tua Tagovailoa, and I know he's doing awesome for y'all and the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'd say the only thing that would probably be better for Tua in my eyes if he was a University of Miami boy, but I digress. Maybe he would have won a couple less national championships if he was. But.
Yeah, well, So something that we're going to be doing over the course of this is playing something called the speed round game. And basically, I'm going to basically say a name, and you say the first thing that pops into your head. So, speed round, Dusty Rhodes.
Dream.
Yep. Well, well associated, sir.
Yep.
So, is wrestling a full-time thing for you, or do you have a day job?
Well, I do wrestling. It's a full-time thing for me.
Okay.
Does it give me a full-time job's wage? No, it does not.
Right.
But it's a full-time thing for me. Yeah. I don't have a job outside of wrestling, so this is how I support myself.
Awesome. So So you did say that your hometown, I guess, is the Broward County area in Florida.
Florida.
So what is your favorite thing about Florida?
I really can't describe it. Being there, every time specifically I'm down home in Deerfield Beach, towards this, like South Florida, Broward County, Dade County, all like there's a certain vibe, like with the people there. I feel like I could just walk the sidewalks and make a friend. Uh, I have never gotten that feeling anywhere else, and maybe it's just because it's home, but yeah, and can never complain about growing up in a beach city and having access to the beach all the time. Man, good weather all the time. I mean, what's not to love? No state taxes? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah, we pay out the nose up here in Georgia. I
Mhm.
mean, it's
Mhm.
it's a terrible thing, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, my best friend from college is actually from Parkland, which is down
Yep.
near Fort Lauderdale. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's kind of down in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, that's
He
where
was
the that one tragedy had happened. Yeah, that like there's a lot of things that have happened that like are crazy enough to like been right around my neck of the woods. Like a lot of like rappers, like gang violence, all that. When people ask like, because I keep up with a lot of that stuff. People find it kind of weird where I'm like, yeah, that happens about 15 minutes from where my grandma lives. So.
yeah. I remember when I was a kid in Florida, living in the Cocoa Melbourne area.
Mm-hmm.
I was, I guess, about 12 when Randy Rhoads, Ozzy Osbourne's guitarist, got killed in that plane crash, and that was about 20 minutes from where I lived. So yeah, it's amazing the weird little tragedies that sometimes happen close to home that definitely leave an impact on you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So so speed round.
Yes, sir. Tap in.
Kenny Omega.
Workhorse.
Yeah,
I mean,
I will agree with you on that one.
he can go.
Oh, he sure can. He sure can. And I'm hoping that he comes back well from this diverticulitis surgery that he had.
Yeah.
I can actually sympathize with him on that because I was diagnosed with that about 7 years ago and had surgery at the time. I've been fine ever since, but I don't get in the ring and throw my body around either. So
Yeah, it's a lot. But yeah, I mean, obviously, hoping that he has a great recovery. I mean, he's amazing for this industry.
oh,
Like what he's already done, what he can continue to do.
absolutely, absolutely. So, they say that the best wrestling personas are yourself turned up to 11. So, tell me about the Florida Man character and compare and contrast him with the everyday you.
Well, if you see me out there in a show, I'm probably a lot louder. I'm much more loud and energetic and throwing myself, flailing my limbs around. But people will be pretty shocked to realize that I'm a pretty chill person outside of the ring. Not even just like at shows all the time. Like if you walk up to my merch table, like I'm a pretty chill guy. I'm pretty relaxed. I'm not very like in your face energetic like I am if you were to see me like inside the guardrails, which is
Right,
it's like inside the guardrails it's like caged animal.
right. Yeah, I had actually had Drew Adler on here recently, and I asked him kind of the same question, to compare and contrast top tier Drew and everyday Drew. And he said the only difference between top tier Drew and everyday Drew is when he goes to the ring, he drops his filter. And I think that's probably the case for a lot of wrestlers. You're
Yep.
basically yourself without parameters, without limitations.
Yeah, that's about accurate. I get to go around and just yell and talk about how much I love the city that I'm from and the sports teams from the cities that I'm from and stuff like that. And people eat it up. I get people chanting for Florida in the Carolinas. And I'm
Yeah,
cool.
I saw your thing that you did where you were trying to annex the city of Greenville,
Yes.
South Carolina, into Florida, and I just thought that was hilarious.
To this day, I still am over there at Pro Wrestling Turbo. I'm trying to annex Greenville, make it Florida. I keep trying to tell them if you like state taxes, don't listen to what I'm saying. But it's a work in progress. We're working on it over there in Greenville, and goes without saying. Anywhere that I show my face at has that opportunity as well.
So Greenville will be Florida.
If they're smart and the population has some intelligence, then Greenville, South Carolina will indeed become Greenville, Florida one day.
I believe it'll happen, man. Absolutely. So speed round.
Yep.
William Regal.
Incredible. That's just the first word that comes to mind. Genius. Like, yeah, a lot of the thought into little details.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling. He's one of the first names you think about.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, with a lot of what's currently going on in WWE, there is really a lot of attention to the small details and the nuances, in particular the stuff they've got going on with the Wyatt Six. Mm-hmm. And I wonder, how much behind the scenes influence William Regal is having on remember the small stuff, the little details. The fans eat that stuff up, the little Easter eggs, and
got his handprints all over that. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. That's right now. They are clicking on all cylinders with the storytelling. I mean, it is just top notch.
I agree.
So let's see, what do we have next here? So, do you have a preference yourself? I've got a feeling because of the type of character you portray that you've mostly been a babyface, but do you have a preference between working heel and working babyface?
I don't. Pretty much, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be me, and either they're going to eat it up, they're going to cheer for me, or they've got some sense of weird pride about where they're from and the state that they live in, which, I mean, I guess if you're like me, you have that sense of pride about where you're from, and I guess you don't feel too thrilled about someone trying to come through and turn everything into Florida. But, I mean, telling these people that it's a better idea. But I'm going to go out there and be me regardless, and if they cheer me, they cheer me. If they boo me, they boo me. A lot of the time, there are places I go where people aren't really wanting to hear what I have to say, and there are still those like 20 people in the crowd that are like, I don't care if I don't even agree. It's funny. I want to go along with it.
Yeah.
I don't have a preference now. I have fun either way.
Oh yeah. I have a feeling that you will have fun in virtually any situation that comes up.
Yeah. It's great. I can go out there and There have been times where I've been in the ring, and before I've even touched the person that I'm standing across from, I've got people like standing up out of their seats just because I'm like on the ground flailing my limbs around.
Yeah.
I'm like, how can you not have fun doing that?
Exactly. My son and I were actually at the PWE show in Augusta a few weeks ago, and we just remember, after the match you were in, you sitting at the bar with the dog.
Oh
that was just amazing.
that, to this day, that's the coolest like fan photo that I've ever gotten to take as a wrestler.
That dog seemed awesome.
It was Rocco was his name.
Yeah.
Shout out to Rocco.
Absolutely. So tell us about your very first match. How did that go? What was it like? What were your feelings about it?
Oh boy. Well, so what had happened was we're training at the Palmetto Wrestling Academy. Me and the people that I wound up debuting with. Jonathan Moody is one of them. The other is Chaz, who has since moved across the country. I miss you, buddy. But, yeah, so we have this match, and the then owner of PCW, Henry Sugars, is present. We pretty much run this match in training, and we're told that, yeah, I'd say they're ready for about March. And that was in like, what, a month or two? So it was like I wasn't expecting it. It seemed like it was sprung on me, but I mean, it kind of lined up perfectly to where we had this. The best little tidbit to the debut that I could have ever wished to have, and it is reality, is the fact that the area code for Miami is 305.
305, yeah.
It's like all over my handles just because like I'm a huge Miami sports fan. Like they're my teams. Like regardless of the sport, it's Miami or die. And we debuted on PCW Sandstorm on March 5th, 305. So
that's cool.
That was a little tidbit that no one else cared about at all, and didn't hear the end of it from me, but I thought it was cool. We had our match. It was the venue was Taylor Plantation. Like I said, PCW Sandstorm. It was about like 300 people. A lot of my family, my friends, like my cousin that is one of my best friends throughout my whole life. Yeah, and we went out there. We did the damn thing. I did a flip off the top of the ring onto the floor. I lost, but it was a lot of fun. It was, feeling of nervousness, butterflies, crazy, like everything just kind of drops the moment that you go through the curtain. Boy, and I had to go out first. That was like when the three of us are back there and reality setting in that like, all right, this is it. And then your music is the first to hit, and you're like, all right, well, I got to go out there and set the tone. Let's go. I come out to Miami by Will Smith at the very beginning. He's like, y'all feel that? Every time I go out, I check my pulse, because I did that first time that we went out, because I was like freaking out, about to go through the curtain. He said that, and I was checking my pulse. I got bug-eyed and everything behind the mask. I'm looking them dead in the eyes. I'm like, y'all feel that?
Yep, you're alive.
I've got my rituals that like I started doing that first day that I do to this day. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Villains documentary that they did for Randy Orton, and him talking about like his process backstage of like like holding his breath, letting blood go to his face. I'll just be backstage, like shaking my face and like making like random noises like that you'd hear from like a ferret or something. But yeah,
That's very cool.
Very
Very cool.
on 305. It's the coolest part. If you ask me, it's the coolest part. They don't really care.
Well, when I was a kid in Florida, even though where I was not particularly close to Miami, pretty much the whole non-panhandle part of the state was 305 area code. So I'm a 305 boy too.
Yep.
So
the actual the purists, they'll try to denounce us. They'll tell me to go back to Broward, but I can claim the 305 if I want to.
That's awesome. So, we've heard about your first match. Now, tell us about your favorite match that you've been a part of. Is there one that stands out?
Yeah. It took me a second to remember that it existed. The finals of the Palmetto Classic last year in 2023. It was in September, I believe. It was a one-day event where I faced Drew Hood in the first round earlier in the night, won that match, and was added to the finals, which wound up being the main event that night, which was a four-way between all the winners of the separate matches. It wound up being me, Jonathan Moody, which was really cool. We got to have kind of that moment where we debuted together, and at PCW, the Palmetto Classic is kind of like it's like that big yearly event where like not that we don't go hard at every single show that we put on at PCW, but like the Classic just kind of brings something out of people,
Gotcha.
And so it's me, Jonathan Moody, James Johnson, and Raylan Albee, who, another one of the guys that I would be remiss in not shouting out because the chemistry that I've got with Raylan is probably better than I've experienced with anybody else thus far. So it was the four of us, and I think we made magic that night. It was elimination. I went to the final two, and I lost. James Johnson, he got that belt. He's been had that since.
Oh yeah, that's tie-dye, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cold classic, if you ask him these days.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I've heard good things about Raylan Albee. He's somebody I need to try to get on one of these.
Incredible. If I could recruit him to be a citizen of Florida, I would.
Well, who knows? If your mission to expand Florida keeps up, we may all be citizens of Florida before it's over.
That's the goal. It's a beautiful goal too, but that's the goal. But yeah, that four-way, yeah, it was special.
So, if you can narrow it down to one or two little anecdotes, what have been some of the most unusual experiences that you've had in wrestling?
Are we talking about like with like other fans?
It can be with fans. It could be something unusual about a venue. Just anything unique or interesting.
Well, one time I had a fan message me saying that they were going to be at a show and specifically requested that I slap them with a slice of pizza.
Oh.
Or like with my journal that I did with like the Tales from Florida or something with at the time. And I was like, it's kind of weird because while I'm Florida man, yeah. And like all the headlines you read, it's like, yeah, that's me. But in the terms of like being at a wrestling show and having to follow the guidelines of a wrestling show, I'm not really allowed to assault a fan. And I don't.
Yeah.
I've had my fair share of having to deal with the police, and I don't think she told me to is a good excuse to them when they're asking why I slapped somebody with a journal or a slice of pizza, whatever it is that she wanted me to slap her with. But yeah, that happened once. That was difficult to navigate. Yeah, which surprisingly is about the strangest thing that I've gotten from a fan. I don't really. It's not that I don't like answer or like check my DMs or anything, but I don't really get a lot of fan interaction outside of like being at the show, interacting with the fan. I guess they don't want to reach out to me. They think I'm weird, which they'd be correct in assuming so. Either that or just like I see the DMs and I don't feel like responding. Like I'll be weird, like 100% transparent. I'm not responding to every single DM. Like there's some weirdos. It takes one to know one. Like with me being Florida man, there's a sense of kind of being a little weird. But there are some like weirdos and there's some creeps that
Oh yeah.
us as wrestlers, especially the females, that kind of have to navigate throughout. We've kind of become like the police on trying to keep our female like students DMs clean and trying to big brother every Ericademia that is with the Palmetto Wrestling Academy, stuff like that. So yeah, not many fan interactions that are that out of the blue that you could think of. But yeah, there was that one. Definitely
Gotcha.
slapper with pizza.
Gotcha. But you know, I'm actually glad to hear that you guys are kind of looking out for some of the female talent, because I know
Absolutely.
that some of the male fans can get a little weird towards some of the female fans, and it's just
Yeah.
it's totally inappropriate.
I can be one to tell you right now. As Florida man, there's a lot of weird stuff that you could associate and attach my name to. Being a creep and a freak and harassing our female coworkers and stuff like that. That's the easiest way for me to think that you should be hit by a bus.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But you know, I will take this opportunity to say thank you for answering my DM. I was hoping you would, because I knew I had to get you on here.
The good ones. Like, just don't come up into my DMs like asking to like pee in my tights and then like send them to you, please. I get it. Like, I've got a weird character, but there's a human being under this mask. I can assure you, he's down to be associated with some weird stuff with the Florida man thing, but don't be creeping in my DMs.
Right, right. So speed round.
Yep.
Joe Hendry.
I believe.
Yep.
I think we can just move past that. It was easy. Easy.
That dude is on fire right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's got a stick. It works.
Yeah, and he's cracked the code on going viral.
Yep.
So, as far as your in-ring style and your promos and such, who would you say are some of your influences?
Boy, my in-ring style, I think about like, I could list off like wrestlers that I've watched that have like influenced me, and that'd be easy enough. Like I could say like the Rey Mysterios, the Sami Zayns of the world, the HBKs, the Seth Rollins, all types. The Bryan Danielsons, how could I forget his name, of the world, like, have influenced me in like knowing what I can do in the ring, like regardless of size and stuff like that. But like outside of just having the boring thing of just like, yeah, I watch these wrestlers and these wrestlers influence me. Take a lot from like cartoons and like, bro, like Tom and Jerry, and like there's this show called Smiling Friends that me and Dre the Goat we pull from for promo ideas all the time. That I'm trying to think of everything, but like really it's one of those things where it's like, as far as the influence on like what we do, what you get from me, and like I'll throw in Dre's name there as well, just because a lot of the time, if you see a promo or some video that I'm in, likelihood is Dre is also a part of it. We don't limit ourselves to being influenced by wrestling. Like,
Right.
there are a million things outside of wrestling that are popular right now in like pop culture and stuff like that are influencing us, that we're like drawing from to get these ideas to do these promos and stuff like that. Like Deadpool versus Wolverine is really hot right now. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw something like that out of us in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not pigeonholing ourselves into, we need to be wrestlers and take our influence from wrestling and be this date at this time, we will be at this venue to wrestle so and so, and like that not being us, and us just wanting to use wrestling as our creative outlet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that not what like the whole goal is? Is that not why people want to get into this? So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, you know, watching the Jay and Silent Bob promos that you and Paul Lasher did, I was on the floor. I mean, and you guys have such freewheeling creativity. You know, I could tell a lot of it was just done on the fly, and it was just awesome.
Shout out to Paul. Paul has been on top of this promo game as well. And it's really, really cool that like me and Dre have been doing these promos for like PCW that have had a lot of like storyline and have been more like skits rather than like wrestling promos. So like Paul and Drew, obviously, I'm sure you've seen, have also been doing that, and the quality of those have been off the chain. So being able to like work with Paul, and because I've worked closely with him, as you've probably seen at PWE, being able to get in there with him, that was amazing. Like filming those, that was fun. Like, and it's a really cool thing to where like he could have that idea, and then like I think about half of the stuff in like a couple of those were just like random ideas where we're like, well, what do you think we're gonna do? Like in one of them, he was like, well, what do you think we're gonna do? And he had a bag of like pepperoni rolls, and I was like, well, what if we're just like chilling, eating pepperoni rolls? And you asked me where I got them from, and I point to the dumpster.
Yeah.
And like just random stuff where it's just, we're not worried about like, you as the fan of the company have already seen when the show is, when like where the show is going to be at, like the date of the show. You don't need that from me. I just,
Right.
my job is to entertain you, because if I can entertain you in 2 minutes, then that's probably going to get you to show up at the venue at that date and that time way more than me just saying, hey, here's what you already know.
Absolutely. And plus it's a way to advance your characters and make the fans care more and more about you and become more and more invested. So do you have an all-time favorite match as a fan? Like a match that you can go back to that never really gets old, that you can always glean something new from even after repeated watching?
It's my answer, so I'll give you two.
Okay.
I don't want to. I can't give this one.
That's fine.
Number one will probably just be the generic answer of Shawn Michaels Undertaker. Honestly, give me either one of their two WrestleMania matches, or give me The Undertaker versus Triple H in Hell in a Cell in Miami for WrestleMania. The other would probably be it was Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano.
Mm-hmm.
Give or take their TakeOver 25 match or their 2 out of 3 falls match at TakeOver New York, which I was in attendance for. It was that match. I was in attendance for the 2 out of 3 falls match between Gargano and Cole in New York, and while I was sitting there in the crowd, it was one of the things where that was kind of one of the moments that solidified I gotta go home and Google a wrestling school near me. I gotta kick this off.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm actually a huge Adam Cole fan. I mean, he's in my all-time top 5. I hope that he can put together a healthy string coming up, because he's had a hard go of it these last few years.
Absolutely.
So, okay. And this can be present day or in the past.
Okay.
Who would be a dream opponent? Who would you love to work?
Well, that's difficult. Give me Bryan Danielson, honestly. Give me Bryan Danielson. I feel like a wrestler's dream, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
I really don't feel like the answer needs any more context than that. I feel like as far as being someone that actually wrestles and knows is in the know about this and how this works, I feel like saying easy, but not in a way where it's it's an easy thing where it's you can kind of be lazy through it, but I feel like you could have the greatest match that you probably feel like you'll ever have in your life and feel like you're not even trying with a guy like Bryan Danielson.
Right.
And
right.
Kind of something that I strive to do.
And just being around somebody like that is going to elevate you. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's funny. I've not trained in years, probably a decade or more, but for several years, I was training regularly in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And, I know that Bryan Danielson is a BJJ practitioner, and, I would, if the planets ever aligned and I could roll a round of jiu-jitsu with Bryan Danielson, my life would be complete. I mean,
yeah, it's like when you say dream match, I'm like, yeah, it's a dream match, all right.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of Bryan Danielson we've got left, period.
No, not much, as far as at least regular in ring,
Nope. So, but yeah, I will keep dreaming on that one.
Hey, you never know. That you just never know. So, over the course of your career so far, have you had a chance to meet any of your wrestling heroes?
Yeah, yeah, I would say yeah. I've met some that are not great. I've met some that are fantastic. Thankfully, there haven't been like any people that like I idolized completely and like would have been like freaked out over meeting, and then they're not that great of a person. The
Right.
people that kind of have not really lived up, and it's kind of like oh damn, they're not nice. It hasn't really been anyone that I've really cared much about anyways. Everyone that like I put a lot of stock into like caring about and being like a very 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 like big fan of, like they've been nothing but a solid human being. So thankfully the don't meet your heroes statement has not been true. Now if the saying was don't meet everyone in the field that you want to go into, then absolutely the saying is true. Don't meet everyone that is in this wrestling field expecting that everyone's going to be amazing and wanting to be your friend.
Right.
I've had plenty of experiences where there's been a wrestler and I'm like, oh, okay, didn't know he was a dick, but I know now.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's true in just about any field too. Um, but okay, speed round. Bray Wyatt.
Too soon.
Yeah,
Way too soon.
absolutely. I mean, that guy was so ahead of his time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like one day, if I've got the capabilities to do so, I wanna tap into some like, cause I'm a huge horror fan. I've
Mm-hmm.
gotta like super pronounce it so you can make sure I'm saying HORROR.
Right.
Horror.
Yeah.
So potentially, if I had the opportunity to one day, I would love to do something like Bray Wyatt was doing, like he influenced the Wyatt Six to be doing now, stuff like that. That's like a kind of
Right.
bucket list. If I've got the capabilities and it's like way further down the line, and I'm like, I kind of just want to like try things out that I thought would be cool.
Right. Right. So, you're still a comparatively young guy, so this
Mm-hmm.
may not really apply as much to you.
Oh,
But
try
what hurts right now
every
physically? Everything?
back, and you know the rest.
Yeah.
If you had to like pinpoint like a specific location, the neck gets really stiff, the lower back gets sore, the longer you're awake.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Probably about kind of the same answer you've been getting. It's not like a debilitating pain that it's just like I can't get up out of bed in the mornings. But I mean, it's there. It sucks.
Yeah.
If I don't do my stretches or like pop, I'll be as stiff as one of the, like those Mattel action figures.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, I mean, obviously I don't put my body through the kinds of things that you do, but
Yep.
it's been interesting since I hit 50. The body does some weird things. Like I've thrown my back out sneezing. I mean, just weird stuff like that.
Man, don't tell me that. I'm doing it when I'm 30, and I'm almost there. I got halfway through the 20s.
So, what are your thoughts overall on the current state of the industry?
I mean, if you have any answer, like on fire, like unbelievable, then like you're lying. You're like, stop kidding yourself. This is the biggest that wrestling has ever been, ever. This is the best
Right.
that been ever from a quality standpoint. Like, the Attitude Era doesn't hold a candle to the numbers that are being done right now. Like, when you really look at, so like, it's the biggest it's ever been. It's more popular than it's ever been. It's not a thing to where there was this stigma around wrestling where it was like almost people had to be in the closet about being a wrestling fan. Like, it was an embarrassing thing to still be a fan of wrestling beyond being like a child that couldn't comprehend that it was fake.
Right.
And it's one of the things where, like, in my mind, it obviously like flies away and gets lost, because that's what just happened to me. I just lost my train of thought. That tends to happen to me. You know what that probably is? That's probably a brain cell communicating with me through Dre the Goat.
Probably.
Halfway across the country. And he's making me forget about things.
Yeah. I believe it. I mean, y'all are joined at the neuron.
We've got a saying that we share a brain cell, and sometimes when it goes into my head, I like to tell Dre that he's got early onset dementia. Sometimes the early onset dementia like leaks into the brain cell. When it pings over my brain, I lose my train of thought.
Yeah. Yeah. But I absolutely agree with you, though. I mean, it is such an exciting time to be a fan, and also
Yep.
I would imagine to be a wrestler, because there are so many opportunities now.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot. Using WWE as an example, what they are doing right now is so exciting, and and I'm not going to totally badmouth Vince, because he contributed a ton to this industry, but a lot of what is happening now could never have happened under Vince.
No.
I mean,
Never.
and there is serious irony in my mind that Degeneration X have ended up running the company. I mean, you've got to just love that.
I mean, regardless of any, like, well, where would we be if, like, you can look at things at like a where would we be without past events, but frankly, I don't. It doesn't shock me that after Vince McMahon is gone, that things look greener on the other side. I think that he is a horrible person that should be condemned, and so it's not a surprising thing that a horrible person running a horrible operation is gone, and the operation is thriving now.
Yeah, I agree. So, and again, you're not you're still a pretty young guy. But knowing everything you know now, Florida man, if you could give any advice to your younger Florida boy self, what would it be?
It'd be to Google wrestling schools straight out of high school instead of dicking around for a couple of years, not knowing what I was doing. I could have been doing this for what? I could have been doing this for around like 5 to 7 years by now. If I would have known that the Palmetto Wrestling Academy was an option sooner, I'd have been there.
Yeah.
But if I could give myself any sooner advice, it'd be, hey, you know that the Palmetto Wrestling Academy is available to go train at right now. And you don't have to wait until like 2020 and like have COVID kind of be weird and like get like, because with our training, like it was in the middle of the pandemic, and like COVID shut down our training multiple times to where we had to like reset like 2 or 3 times.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do you have any advice for any young folks that are looking to break into the business, besides go to the Palmetto Wrestling Academy?
Wow, you got me. If not going to the Palmetto Wrestling Academy, make sure you get good training. Don't get scammed on your training. Do not go and get trained and have somebody tell you that after you've rolled around and bumped around for like a month or 2 that you're ready to go out and have no clue what you're doing and learn things out on the road. Like, that's not the state of wrestling these days, and that's such an ancient, dumb mindset that we need to leave behind. So get proper training. Continue to train. Like, don't ever stop training, because I think it's kind of weird because people outside of this that don't really understand how it works. You don't like go to a wrestling school and get a diploma and they're like, congratulations, you're a professional wrestler. Go and like get booked and be the greatest ever. Like, if you don't continue to train constantly, consistently, you're not going to be evolving constantly, and that's a requirement these days.
Absolutely. And plus, you know, there's the old saying, iron sharpens iron, you know, and the only way to really get good at anything physical is reps.
Yeah. Be coachable, seek good training, know when to know when to look out for bad training and like bad shows, places where you don't need to be going, that like there are people that don't have good training, and where it's nothing against them as human beings, but if they got scammed and they're not particularly all that safe because of the lack of training that they were like scammed on, then it's one of the things where, what if I go there and I get hurt?
Right.
They're not in a position to pay my medical bills. Like, not even I'm in a position to pay all my medical bills, like, completely.
Right.
So, like, these are the things that you really have to think about. So, like, get properly trained. Know to look out for the signs that there is somewhere that you do not need to be, and they're not running a solid operation.
Right.
To where, like, it's kind of weird to navigate this because regardless of how you view things, there's going to be a certain like amount of people that are not trying to hear it, and they'll just think ego and stuff like that. But it's not coming from a place of ego. It's just coming from a place of like, I can't help how I feel. And if I feel like in my heart that I shouldn't be somewhere and I'm not liking the vibe somewhere, and I don't think that they're running an operation that I want to be a part of, it's nothing against them. I'm not saying that there aren't people that would enjoy stuff. Like, there's a reason that everything is out there, and there is going to be at least a couple people that enjoy it. So it's not completely purposeless, but it can be purposeless to me to go somewhere and like lose money going somewhere with the potential to get hurt more than not. So like a lot of that stems from people trying to get off on people wanting to become wrestlers. So like, know who your good trainers are going to be. Like, I can tell you one right now: the Palmetto Wrestling Academy.
Yep,
Like,
Ethan Case.
if you don't have the means to be in South Carolina or train with us, then like there are other like there's good training all over the place, but there's even more bad training all over the place. So just look out for where you're going and understand that this is a life commitment. It's not like you're gonna go to a school and, like I said, get a diploma and then be able to go. Like, there are people that view it like that, and that's kind of the issue that I'm getting at. Is there are people that will have a very, very minimal amount of training, which is no fault of their own, because they're essentially getting scammed by someone that just wants to deal with them and show them how to roll around for a couple of months and make their couple $1,000s off of them.
Mm-hmm.
So then they wind up on a show. They're not as safe as they could be. And then not only that, but they stop training after that. They're not constantly training. They're not always getting better. And so, like, having somewhere that you can constantly always train is so important as well. And it's not a thing where you can just stop and, like, you've reached the end of your curriculum. Like, you can stop training and you'll be good. If you stop training on a regular basis, your performance in the ring is going to be affected. I am here to tell you right now, I've been a victim of it. And so, like, get good training, like, make sure that with the training that you can get, you can continue to train as long as you want to be doing this. Because, like, people in the WWE, they don't have days off. Like,
Right.
So yeah, that'd be my big rant on advice to people trying to get in. Don't get scammed. Take it seriously. Train.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So something that we've been doing in all of these also is we have let the current guest pose a question for the next guest.
Okay.
So my previous guest was Dre.
I can't wait to hear this.
And so the question that he posed was, what do you want first or more, your own action figure or to be in a video game?
Oh, to be in a video game. I've never been like the figure collector. See, me, I had my Undertaker figure as a kid, and he was my favorite. And so once I had him, I was like, well, I'm cool. I've got him and at least like one person for him to wrestle. And that was me as a kid. I've never been like a big figure collector, so that's an easy answer for me. I want to see myself in a video game. Like, it's difficult enough making me with the mask and all that. I'd love to just have them do this like high-tech scan me in.
That would be cool to actually go through that process, you know, of actually being scanned in and the motion capture and all that good stuff.
It's
yeah, that
hard work in a creator wrestler, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So, so do you? Well, I'll go ahead and tell you the next guest is actually tomorrow night. I've actually got a double header at 5:30 tomorrow night. I've actually got Sean Legacy. He's actually coming on to hype the match that he's got coming up with Anthony Henry on August the 8th back at the Savannah River Brewing Company. So he's going to be the next guest. And then later tomorrow night, I've got Tomer Shalom, who he's an Israeli-born wrestler. And you know, so he's going to be on at 7 tomorrow night. So I've got those two as my next guest. Do you have a question you would like to pose to either of them or both?
Well, I do believe you can go ahead and ask both of them for me if they are interested in signing a petition to convert. We'll say Greenville at the very least. Greenville,
Okay.
are the big two targets right now. To convert those two cities into parts of the state of Florida instead of both Georgia and South Carolina. He just asked them for me.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely pose that to them. So we're getting toward the end of things. Do you have any upcoming shows or anything that you'd like to hype?
Yes, we are at Phoenix Wrestling Experience, PWE Back to School Brawl or Bash. It's one of those two. I think it's Brawl. I think I got it right the first time. But yeah, we've got a triple threat coming up between me, Paul Lasher, and Dre the Goat, who have both been mentioned before. We're in a bit of a love triangle. Don't know what's going on. Both kind of want to tag with me. I kind of think we should all just get along, but yeah, we've got that coming up. We've got.
So you're stuck in the middle.
Yeah, we've got Palmetto Championship Wrestling coming up. Their next show, I believe, is sometime late next month. I'll always be at Palmetto Championship Wrestling if you want to check out their Facebook. They've got all their dates for 2024. I'm always going to be there. And I pop up here and there at Pro Wrestling Turbo. Looking to pop up at some more places sometime soon. Across the country, different states wise, stuff like that. Looking to pop up in Florida for the first time, maybe, potentially.
So you're a Florida man, but you have yet to wrestle in Florida?
Well, it's kind of one of those things where, like, my goal is to go out and, like, make everything else Florida.
Gotcha.
So it's like, I'm not really fulfilling my goal by, like, that's
true.
My own personal pleasure of being in Florida. So I haven't gotten around to being able to do that. I've been busy with trying to get this other stuff rolling, and people have not been wanting to buy in. So it's been a little slow process. We haven't made it to be able to have the free leisure time to show up to Florida and wrestle yet, but coming up.
Gotcha. So the final thing I want to do with you before we wrap up is to do a quick SummerSlam predictions.
Sure. You have the card.
Okay. I do. I've got the card here. Yeah. So in no particular order of matches here, Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk with Seth Rollins as the special referee. Who do you got?
I feel like I would like to see Drew win, but I feel like the whole thing is kind of barreling towards, I think Drew winning is kind of what ends this whole thing. And I don't think we've seen the end of this whole story between the two. So I think Punk is going to initially win. So chalk me in for a CM Punk victory. Okay.
Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa for the Universal title.
Give me Cody Rhodes. That's an easy one. Give me of the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Hopefully he makes his return.
I tell you what, he is moving my needle. He has got my Peacock subscription. I'm here to tell you right now, my reason for watching SummerSlam is Roman Reigns might be returning.
Yeah. Damian Priest versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship.
That's more difficult than I would probably might have thought it would be like a couple months back. I would have thought that Gunther was a lock to win this, like from the get, but
same here.
I don't feel so much like he's a lock. I'm still going to predict that he takes the belt and he wins, though. But I've got a strange feeling that we might not see. You know what? No. It's going to be Gunther. It's going to be Gunther.
Yeah, I'm back and forth on that one too. I'm actually going to say that Priest holds on to the belt and maybe gets betrayed by Finn Balor.
Well, that's my thing. I feel like something like that's going to happen, but I feel like if something like that happens, it's like a reason for him to lose the belt.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. He could get screwed by Finn.
I feel like Gunther's got to be that guy, and he's got to
Yeah.
get that belt. Like, real Graps has to return when Gunther wins that belt.
Yeah.
And if we do the turn and Priest is still champ, then we've got to move past Gunther and like address the Judgment Day turn that just happened. So I feel like if that happens, we're looking at Gunther being the champion.
Yeah. So Nia Jax versus Bayley for the WWE Women's Belt.
Give me Bayley. Hard to predict, but give me Bayley. I feel like they're trying to give her like a nice solid run. She really helped carry them through COVID, and I think she's being rewarded.
Right. I agree with you that I mean, to me, the wild card on that match is, does Tiffany Stratton then cash in?
Nah. We have not seen a pink briefcase yet.
That's true.
Seeing the pink briefcase before she cashes in, and she's toting that thing around for like at least a couple months.
Yeah. So Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship.
That might be the most difficult one to predict, honestly.
Yeah. I would not put money on that match.
No, I wouldn't. And you know what? Whenever I want to, I think it's going to be Liv. I think it'll be Liv.
I agree. I think they will probably string that feud out and finally blow it off at Mania next year.
Yeah.
So Logan Paul and LA Knight for the US title.
LA Knight.
Yeah.
Like Logan Paul, he's doing well. He's got his obvious controversies that people don't like him. But as far as being in the world of professional wrestling, he's doing a good job. You can talk about his character, and like I'm willing to entertain conversations about the character of Logan Paul, but I'm also willing to entertain the conversation that, yeah, he's also probably really good in the ring.
Yeah.
However, I would like to see the United States Championship on TV. I feel like with a lot of the belts, it's kind of weird. We've had a bit of a flip. Like you saw the U.S. title very, very frequently, and it was like the IC title and everything else was nowhere to be seen. Like the tag titles weren't being defended on these PLEs, pay-per-views. Roman was champion, and he would only pop out for like the really big shows to defend the world title. For a while, the IC title like was nowhere to be found, and like it's like we don't see U.S. title defenses. It seems all that often, or we don't see it like as a focal point, at least on like weekly television. And I feel like that's something that they could definitely benefit from, is having like one of those belts back on weekly television for these guys like LA Knight to kind of lock horns and get involved in the scene for, because you've got a lot of guys that like the line's really long for opportunities like belts and stuff like that, and there are some guys that you could be doing some really good work with like a championship reign with like something like the U.S. title. LA Knight has been consistently one of the most popular guys in the entire company. So him saying, or me saying that him winning is deserved, everyone will say that it's deserved, and it's because it is. But you open the door for so much more to happen, like with the belt being like back on weekly television, because LA Knight's going to be like there every week on weekly television.
Oh yeah, and I agree with you about it being deserved, because I mean, he's been great throughout his WWE run, and he was great when he was Eli Drake in TNA and other places. I mean, he's been great the majority of his career. So,
and I feel like it's one of the things where like we've gotten great from Logan Paul too, and it's not like it hasn't been great, but like it hasn't been like and every single week you can see the champion and like the United States Championship on TV. And like I'll throw a name out there, like a name that's just been like bouncing around in my head that like could really benefit from there being like a freshly renewed like US title scene, and a lot of these guys like being able to be in this US title scene every week. Andrade. Boy, I love me some Andrade.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, that man is seriously underrated. I mean, I'm a big Andrade fan.
Becoming part of his shtick that, for whatever reason, the crowd doesn't make a peep when he walks out, and by the end of his matches or whatever that he's doing in his performances, like they're on their feet. I love things like that.
I do too. So Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental. I mean, I think the outcome's fairly obvious.
It's a little less obvious than people may be thinking it is. I'm still going Braun to win. I feel like we're treading this really fine line, and wrestling fans are both the greatest people on the planet and the worst insufferable people on the planet at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very clear that like wrestling fans are about to turn on Sami Zayn if he wins, which is just so dumb to me.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the obvious thing to think is that the WWE, with how they're operating right now, they want Sami Zayn to continue to be a babyface, and they're aware that for whatever reason, like idiots are gonna start thinking that after clamoring and beating the table for Sami Zayn to get treated well, the fact that he's stringing together wins just because it's someone like Braun Breaker that just got called up, that suddenly he isn't putting over talent and is winning matches that he shouldn't be going over in and stuff like that. I just think it's so dumb. Because from a worker standpoint, I can't imagine that Braun Breaker is going at it with a mindset other than being utterly thrilled to be able to work with Sami Zayn and be in a program with Sami Zayn. I don't.
Oh yeah.
Braun Breaker could care less about losing to Sami Zayn.
No.
In Canada at Money in the Bank.
Right.
I feel like it's just people whining and beating the table and switching on a dime. So I feel like because that is the nature of how fans are, they're not dumb, and they won't do something to where a large majority of people will wrongly start turning on Sami Zayn as a babyface. So I think they'll just have Braun Breaker win, because it's not a bad decision for Braun Breaker to win.
Right.
He's going to do really good things with the IC title. I just think that it shouldn't be as close as people are saying. It shouldn't be like an obvious thing where it's like, well, obviously Braun Breaker's winning, because the only reason that people are like, obviously Braun Breaker is winning is because people are like, obviously we're going to beat the table and demonize Sami Zayn all of a sudden if he doesn't.
Right. Right. I mean, my reason for saying the outcome is obvious was not so much that as just the fact that, Sammy's already gone over on him once, And as far as a realism type of thing with, the size disparity and all of that, realistically, but again, we're talking about wrestling, so we're not necessarily talking about realism. But I mean, realistically, Sammy is likely not going to go over on somebody like Braun twice. I mean, but who knows,
Unless you subvert expectations.
Yeah.
And that's been a whole big part of like what WWE's been all about, is subverting expectations.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they've got something that's really, really, really good cocking in the chamber.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just went through and Sammy won. And that
Yeah.
was for his program with Braun Breaker. And then while you would have people beating the table saying that Braun Breaker just got buried by Sami Zayn, they've got this unbelievable like storyline planned out where Braun Breaker is probably going to be fine. Like
Yeah.
regardless of the outcome, Braun Breaker is already fine. He's already a star.
Yeah.
He's not like, it's not like he needs to beat everyone that he goes up against to be a star, because he's already there.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that'd be honestly a cool thing to subvert expectations. And because especially these days, like you have another match where like, all right, well, Sammy's already beat him once. So why would they be doing the match again if the plan wasn't for Braun to win? Well, unless it wasn't, and they're doing it for that exact reason. And we're building a new culture where like less is getting out about what's going to happen. Like less spoilers are leaking within WWE. Like they want to subvert expectations, and like I'm actually going to change my answer to Sammy.
Okay.
And ride with Sammy. Because I feel like I've just talked myself into thinking that they might have different ideas for both people.
Oh yeah. I mean, I just think it's always fun with these types of things to try to figure out what the bookers got in mind. I mean, and I'm glad that they've gotten back into long-term storytelling.
Oh yeah.
So, well, anyway, this has been an absolute pleasure. So thank you for your time. Man, I really had a blast picking your brain and just nerding out about this stuff.
Yeah,
And for those of you that have been watching this live, thank you. For those of you that will be watching replays of this, thank you for that. If you like what we've got going here, spread the word, and let's have this thing continue to grow. It's really gaining some traction, and I'm really excited to see where this is all going to go. But
now you can say that your podcast was the first podcast to ever host Florida Man.
Well, that is a badge of honor, my friend, and best to you in your goal to basically turn all of the world into Florida.
Yes, I appreciate that.
And so everybody have a wonderful night. I will be back tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. With Sean Legacy, and then at 7 p.m. tomorrow with Tomer Shalom. And then Friday at 7, I have another masked wrestler by the name of Smiley, the Psycho Superman. He's out of New York State. And then at 8:45 Friday night, I've got Ghetto Gear Solid.
They were cool.
Yeah. Actually, when they came out for their match, they actually handed my son their water bottle as they were walking to the ring. They turned to him and said, "Hold this." So he did. Anyway. But like I said, thank you for your time, and we will call it a night on